Did you know that an average American person stares at a screen of some sort for 8.5 hours? And this could include laptops, phones, televisions, and any other screen you can think of. And during those 8.5 hours, they do things such as watch TV shows and movies for entertainment, finish homework, check emails, play games, socializing, personal maintenance, and many other things. Although there are multiple types of screens, I would prefer saying that all of those things are done off of one device known better as the laptop. If you think about it, there isn't one thing a laptop can't do. It's portable, so it competes with mobile phones. It plays games, so it competes with consoles. It handles YouTube and Netflix, so your basic entertainment consumption. It opens social media sites, and most of all, it's portable. So essentially, I would like to rephrase my claim to an average person spends roughly 8.5 hours in front of their laptop or computer. I can personally vouch for that statement because I am an IBT student, so I do know how much I tend to use my laptop on a day-to-day basis during school and after school for projects and homework. And then I also do have software on my laptop which just streamlines my experience so I can reply to notifications from my phone without getting up and things like that, so it just makes it more wanting to use my laptop. Here are some cool facts. Did you know that famous movies such as Star Wars, Tron, Avatar, and many more were created with the help of a computer? And that is because they all required special effects of some sort which are impossible to do in real life, so they utilized computer CGI, which is essentially animating. Did you know that 40 to 55% of all Wikipedia vandalism is caught by computers with a 90% accuracy rate through sites like Turnitin? We got computers whether it is for good, such as online learning and self-development, or bad, such as hacking and other malicious activities. But one cannot deny that computers are a part of everyone's life in the 21st century, and because of computers there have been advances in the world from quantum computing to making microprocessors that fit in your phone. While all of that might seem obvious, what everyone doesn't realize is the fact that these exact machines that we use on a daily basis cause just as much harm to us in the long run. Computer monitors emit flashes of light to display text, flashes so quick that the naked human eye can't see them, precisely around 200 flashes per second, and those flashes can ruin your eyesight if stared at for too long. But there are monitors that display static text which manufacturers called anti-flicker, but those monitors are priced so expensively that even if someone wanted to buy them, they would have second thoughts about them simply because of the price. So in this presentation, I will be discussing some major health impacts caused by computers and how to prevent or stop them from happening to you. The major points I will be discussing are effects of exposure to radiation, eye strain, carpal tunnel syndrome and other forms of arthritis, social isolation, and sleeping problems. Okay, so let's begin. Now before I start, I would like to clarify a myth that I hear from anyone and everyone I pose this question to. Does the radiation from a computer harm you? The short and simple answer to this is no. Unless you are using a CRT screen, which no one has nowadays, but even in those, the amount of radiation is so slight that it wouldn't even affect you. To further explain this point, there are two types of radiation involved with this topic: ionizing radiation and neutral radiation. Ionizing radiation is the bad radiation. It can cause harmful effects to one's health if exposed to for an extended period of time. And neutral radiation isn't good for you, but it isn't bad for you either. It's just there, hence the name neutral radiation. Your laptop will emit close to none of the ionizing radiation, and it will emit a small amount of the neutral type. So as far as you should be concerned, you will get more harmful radiation from going outside for a 20-minute walk than you would get from your computer in an entire year. And there isn't really anything that you can do to reduce the amount of radiation you get from your computers currently. However, if you have a CRT monitor, I would recommend you replace it with a LCD or LED monitor, as those monitors have newer technology and they reduce the amount of radiation that they emit. And other than that, there's also this other precaution to take, which is to never look into the laser from your mouse or DVD drive, and that's that red laser that pops out. That radiation is known as laser radiation, and that actually can harm you, so don't do that. My next point is that eye strain is also a negative effect that is caused from computer usage. Using the computer for extended periods of time in today's world doesn't just cause one specific issue. It causes multiple issues, so scientists have bundled all of those problems into computer vision syndrome, which is also known as CVS. Anyone who is using a computer can be affected by CVS, so it isn't age specific, so anyone can get it from infants to seniors, and according to WebMD, computer vision syndrome is identical to carpal tunnel syndrome, which I will be discussing as the next issue, but the reason that they're similar is because they are both caused by repetitive motion, and the more you do that motion, the worse the problem will get. Believe it or not, but working on a computer requires a lot of eye muscles, and that is because your eyes have to constantly keep up with the changing image, and people also tend to look at the computer screen and down at a paper to copy something, so your eyes constantly have to refocus themselves to provide your brain with a clear image. You may think that your eyes have to do this on a day-to-day basis, and that is true, but on a computer it is more work because of the moving images and cursors and other objects on the screen. On a computer, there are also other factors such as glare, screen contrast, and screen flicker, which I already talked about, and those problems do not exist when you're reading a book or newspaper or something that isn't on a screen. Alongside that, working on a computer also becomes harder and harder as you age because the lens in your eye that capture the image begin to stiffen, which causes a longer delay before they refocus themselves to a new subject, and this condition is called presbyopia. Computer vision syndrome hasn't caused any reported long-term damage as of yet, but it causes a lot of short-term damage such as blurred vision, dry eyes, headaches, double vision, and much more, and these things can continue for 3 to 6 months on worst-case scenarios. As I had mentioned in the beginning of the video, getting an anti-flicker monitor may be expensive for people, and there are also monitors that have a matte finish, which is essentially a type of screen that disperses the incoming light instead of reflecting it back at you as like a standard glare monitor. But those monitors are also pretty pricey, at least the good ones. However, there are some things that you can do right now that will help reduce CVS from happening instead of getting an expensive anti-glare or matte finish monitor. Try positioning your desk or monitor to be with the window so the sunlight doesn't shine directly onto the screen, but rather the back of it. So that can be bad too for your eyes, so try to position it sideways if possible so that the sun doesn't come into your eyes. You can also give yourself a break every few minutes, and to do that just follow the simple 20-20-20 rule, which essentially states look 20 feet away from your computer for 20 seconds every 20 minutes. And this has been scientifically proven to help reduce eye strain because you're refocusing your eyes to a subject that is further away. This method isn't going to stop CVS from happening, but it will significantly reduce the chances of anything happening in general. And make sure to exercise your eye muscles by simply rotating and moving them around for 5-10 seconds every day. Also make sure you have a reasonable brightness for the lighting situation ongoing during your setup. So my point isn't to never put your laptop on full brightness or vice versa, but when it's dark or a low lighting situation, try turning down the brightness to avoid strain on your eyes, and vice versa for outdoors. When it is bright outside, be sure to turn your brightness up to max so it is easy for your eyes to capture the image. My next point is that carpal tunnel syndrome and other forms of arthritis can be caused by using your computer. Carpal tunnel syndrome is an issue that many people face because they're on the computer for too long and their desk setup and computer accessories are not ergonomically designed. When someone has the syndrome, they will experience numbness and weakness in their hand because there is a lot of pressure in the median nerve, which passes through a group of bones that connect your wrist and arm together, known as the carpal tunnel, hence the name carpal tunnel syndrome. It essentially makes day-to-day tasks harder because there will be constant pain in your wrist when too much pressure is applied, and doctors consider it as a form of arthritis, hence they would prescribe arthritis-related medications. Carpal tunnel is caused by repetitive hand movements as mentioned previously, so when you type excessively on your keyboard or you play games, you are increasing the chance of obtaining the syndrome. Also, people tend to slouch when working on their bed or a poorly shaped chair, which can cause back pain and carpal tunnel because your wrist will be bent awkwardly for extended periods of time to type or use the mouse. Now don't get me wrong, you can also get carpal tunnel syndrome from shoveling excessively or jackhammering and other activities, but most often people tend to get it from using their computer, and considering how much we use it in today's world, the chances of you getting it at a young age have increased greatly. One of the best prevention methods is to invest in ergonomically friendly computer equipment, and that would include keyboards, mice, and desks. Getting an ergonomic keyboard would allow you to position your wrists in a more ergonomic manner, and that may seem awkward at first, but after a while you will get used to it and you're essentially saving yourself from getting carpal tunnel. And the same applies for mice. Ergonomic mice have a special rest for your thumb, which allows you to keep your wrist on approximately a 45-degree angle so that your wrist isn't bent in an awkward position. And ergonomic desks are very high up so that your monitor is set at eye level, which reduces the chance of you getting neck pain. But these things may be expensive and confusing to use at first, but all you're doing is reducing the chances of you getting carpal tunnel. But that equipment can sometimes be unaffordable for some people, so that wouldn't be a choice for some. Other things that you can do that are budget friendly would include raising the height of your monitor by placing books underneath it to make it eye level, and sit in a straight chair to keep your spine in good form. And if you already have arthritis or carpal tunnel syndrome, then visit your doctor to get medication to reduce the pain, because that pain can really stop you from what you're willing to do. And if you can afford it, then even look into surgery for the joint in which you are experiencing pain in. My next point is that social isolation is caused by computer usage. Ever since the computer has been invented, there have been advances on the online social life. Starting with AIM Messenger, then Facebook came along, which then started text messaging and online messaging altogether. In today's world, people will text one another good and bad news instead of calling them to let them know, let alone visiting them in person. People also think that it is now socially acceptable to be online friends, and what that means is you've never met that person in real life, and the only way you communicate with them is through online messaging. While that is okay for those who have a long-distance relationship, it isn't really healthy for the vast majority of us. It doesn't do any harm, but what it does do is it makes it harder for you to talk to people in real life, simply because you think of them as an online screen, and then when you see them in person, all of a sudden it's really awkward between the two of you, and you won't be able to form any new and real memories with the other person to look back upon. And online messaging is also dangerous because of cyberbullying, but it also negatively impacts you as an individual, because you will never develop the skill of reading facial expressions because you've never met anyone real to talk to. And you will just be constantly checking your messages instead of doing productive work, which can be an issue for a lot of people in today's world. All of this just doesn't have to be for messaging, however. It can occur to video game players too, because you can run into a new person in an online video game and all of a sudden you become friends. But the thing is, you've never met that person in real life, and your relationship only exists on a computer screen. In this scenario, there isn't really anything that you can buy to solve this necessarily, but it isn't wrong to have an online relationship, but you should have a balance of both. A balance of online and real relationships. Meet new people in person and hang out with them, because when things go bad for you in life, those online friends can't really do much sitting there in front of a screen, whereas your real friends can come and comfort you and actually contribute to your well-being. You can also limit the time you spend on online social networking sites and do more productive things in the meanwhile. And if you can't control yourself, then there are hundreds of plugins for Chrome and other browsers in which you can set the amount of time you are allowed on the site, and then those web pages will be blocked and inaccessible until the next day. And these programs are especially helpful if you know that you won't be able to control yourself, as I mentioned previously. My last point is that sleeping problems can also be caused by the usage of computers. Did you know that your computer also makes it hard for your body to sleep? The computer screen emits a lot of blue light which a normal person would not realize, as it blends in with the red, green, blue panel of the screen, also known as the RGB panel. But essentially, that blue light is for brightness during the daytime, and that blue light makes the screen look lively and vibrant. But as you approach nighttime and your natural sleeping time and have your computer in front of your face, those same blue lights that made your screen look good during the day, now they make it difficult for you to sleep. Let me explain what I mean. To get you ready to sleep, your body releases two chemicals known as serotonin and melatonin, which slow down the brain's processes. But when you use your computer at night, those blue light waves can disrupt the production of serotonin and melatonin in the body, which effectively makes it hard for you to sleep because you're forcing yourself to sleep, whereas your body isn't ready yet. According to study, people who are on the computer for more than 2 hours before their bedtime had slept 1 hour later than people who read books and other paper starting 2 hours before bed. There are a lot of solutions to this problem, but if you have to absolutely use your computer before you sleep to finish off some last minute tasks, then use a software program that removes the blue light. There's this program called Flux, and it is my personal favorite as it is free and very intelligent. It can detect when the sun sets in your location and then begin to gradually decrease the blue light on your computer screen so you don't really notice that it's happening. People also refer to this process as changing the color temperature, as you're going to be making your screen have a warm tint. At first, I can assure you that you won't like this program because it makes it really weird to look at your screen due to the fact that it will have a yellowish glow, but over time your body will adapt to it and it will feel like second nature. The only downside to this program, and essentially any other program, is that they will have to change your color balance. So if you are doing some color intensive work such as Photoshop or other media editing, then this process will not be advisable simply because of the fact that you are changing the color balance on your screen. But if you're doing casual typing or web browsing, then it's good to have this program activated to get your body ready to sleep. Another solution to falling asleep faster after working on the computer is to stop looking at any screen whatsoever, 2 hours before bed. So a quick example, if I wanted to sleep at 10 p.m., then I will turn off my computer, cell phone, everything else at 8 p.m. to allow enough time for serotonin and melatonin to be produced and my brainwaves to be slowed down to enter the REM cycle. In that time, you can go read a book, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, literally do anything other than stare at a screen. Those are the two logical methods to overcome this negative effect of using your computer, but there are other methods such as sleeping pills and such, but they are not advisable by anyone because they ruin your natural sleeping habits and schedule, and then eventually over time you will become dependent on them to sleep. Hence, I would not advise sleeping pills as a legitimate solution to this. So to quickly recap this informative video, using a computer on a day-to-day basis can do a lot of good and bad for us. Good in the sense that it makes many tasks a breeze, such as online banking and other services, but it does just as much harm to us in the long run because it is the primary cause of carpal tunnel and arthritis, eye strain, social isolation, and sleeping problems. And there are many more negative problems that the computer causes, and to restate what I have said earlier, using a computer does not negatively impact your body through radiation, as it does not emit any sort of ionizing radiation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new and interesting through this video. My bibliography is on a separate Word document and it is in chronological order. So in the order that these visuals were displayed in, and then the informative sites from which I obtained these facts and statistics from will be within the same document. And in conclusion, I believe that using a computer is absolutely fine as long as it is within a certain limit, so you aren't on it all day and night. Thank you for watching.